Hi, gang. You've got Jake from Ghostly Activities, and this week's podcast will focus on the new GoPro 4K with full spectrum rig. Now, with this device, you might have seen it. Full disclosure, I got it at GoStop. I bought it myself. Okay. Um, this is not a paid review. I bought it. I used it. I don't think I used it that well, but hey, you could check out the video that accompanies this podcast. So, some Ghostly Activities members and myself, we had Dave, we had Sandy, we had Jennifer and myself, went on a ghost tour. And we went into the Seattle Underground. If you don't know what the Seattle Underground is, back in 1889, 1890, there was a big fire in Seattle, destroyed the downtown area. And when they rebuilt the city, they raised it about 10 to 17 feet. It depends on where you are. And that old level below it, I mean, they didn't knock anything down. They're the foundations for the new businesses. Anyway, that's the underground. It's right below the sidewalks in Pioneer Square. So I got this GoPro 4K, and I bought it from GoStop. I got the rig for it, and a rig is just the light setup. So it's got this T-bar thing, and it's got a full spectrum light attachment to it. Now the GoPro 4K itself doesn't have its light filters in it, so it can pick up infrared and ultraviolet light, which makes full spectrum. That's the purplish haze you're going to see in the video. And it's Seattle. I think this is one of my big mistakes and big learnings. Hopefully you can learn from it. I kept it in the waterproof case. I think they call it a suitcase. So you can use it like if you're diving, snorkeling, scuba diving, all that fun stuff. And I left it in it because it's spring in Seattle. It's probably going to rain. And if you go into the underground, it leaks quite a bit. You can get water dropping on you from anywhere. And I didn't really want to wreck the thing. So I put it in its suitcase, and it has this fisheye effect. So you're going to see some warping around the edges. I think if I do it again, or I should say when I do it again, I am not going to use the suitcase for it. For one thing, when you have the suitcase on it, you've got to press the video buttons to select if you're going to do video or pictures. And if you're going to record, you've got to really press on those buttons. So that's the one thing you have to know is really push down hard to start your video. That's not the case when it's not in the suitcase. You can just tap it and it'll start. Let's see. One of the things that kind of threw me off, though, and this is my first GoPro, by the way, guys, was when you're recording, it's got about 2-inch display in the back, and so you can see what you're recording. It turns black after a couple of minutes. I'm sure this is to, preserve power, but it kind of throws you off when you're looking through it. It goes black. It's still recording, so you don't have anything to worry about there, but you can't necessarily see what you're recording. Now, what's nice about the GoPro is it does such a wide angle, pretty much anything in front of the camera you're going to pick up. So that's good, right? And the other drawback, and you'll see this in the video, is the underground's very, very dark. And with that full spectrum light rig, there's this beam of full spectrum light. Now you're going to see the video, you're going to see a lot of purple, pink coloring around it. But when you're in those long halls and you don't really have anything to reflect the light back at the camera, it just looks like you got a big old purple bullseye going on. And you're missing the things. You're probably missing, I'm going to guess here, like 2/3 of the picture field, simply because this hardcore beam of light is the only thing bouncing back. Like I said, you're going to see when we're going through the hallway, I guess you would call it streetway in the underground, you're going to see there's just a lot of darkness around it. And you're also going to see that warping fisheye effect from the suitcase lens. So, like I said, definitely, if it's not raining and you don't need to worry about water, don't use that case. And let's see what else we've got. And now, there was a part where we go into the Museum of Death, and this is in Spooked in Seattle. It actually worked pretty well. There was a lot more items within the light range, I should say, things to reflect back. So even though there's still that burn-in effect, I guess we'll call it, from the full light rig, you can still see things around it. And, white is better. White, I'm guessing, reflects light. So anything that was white came out pretty, was picked up well on the camera. Anything that was black, which I think absorbs colors, not so much. And the other thing with the case, it really blocks the microphone. I mean, this shouldn't be surprising, right? The microphone would have holes in it. I wasn't expecting it to essentially kill all sound. So that's another reason not to use the case. This is my big learning. I hope you're learning from this with me. And yeah, so I wouldn't do that again. So just a little quick review. I think I do like this camera a lot. Don't get me wrong. It's really tiny. It's easy to lose. It's kind of fragile. I really worry about scratching up the lens all the time. Because, you're going to put your equipment case and everything. You're going to be running around. Like if you out in the woods, I would not be surprised if a tree branch or something hits the lens and scrapes it. I mean, for the money, and I think I spent, for this full light rig, it might have been $129, something like that. So I didn't think it was all that expensive. I'm more interested in upgrading to one of the Hero devices next, if I can get a full spectrum. I think there's a site out there called Ghost Hunting Equipment that sells them. I just like, personally, I prefer a bigger handy cam. You've seen the video before, like when we were doing the engagement at the Walker Ames house, I was using a Bell & Howell full spectrum camcorder, and I'm going to be ordering, it's old. It's time to upgrade to a new one. I'm going to buy, it's either a Canon, I think it's a Canon, or a Sony version of that. The tech has gotten much better. And one of my biggest complaints with the Bell & Howell is when you're in full spectrum mode, it doesn't really focus so well. It gets blurry. And if you went to the Port Gamble Ghost Hunt post on Ghostly Activities, you would have seen, why is everything out of focus? I was approximately 5 feet away. It shouldn't have been a problem. So I'm going to upgrade my regular camcorder. Like I said, I do like the 4K, the GoPro 4K quite a bit. It was a really good picture on it. Like I said, I screwed it up by putting it in the case. So guys, don't do that. And we were running around, well, not running around, walking around the underground. And so I had a handheld, I guess you would call them a handheld monopod that I had it on. And it still stayed in focus, which is good with that kind of movement. GoPro is known for this. My Bell & Howell full spectrum video recorder wouldn't have handled that kind of movement very well. So that's the other thing, is if you're going to be walking around investigating, and still, there were parts that I didn't post in the video where I set it up. The monopod has a bottom part which becomes a tripod. And when it's stable like that, great picture. Like I said, though, the full spectrum rig itself, it's kind of hit or miss because of the power of the light. So that's what I have for you this week, guys. Thank you again for tuning into the podcast, and happy ghost hunting. Take care.